Welcome to the Whitetail Watch here at Hoyt's Bow Hunting Whitetails. We're looking forward to the weekend of October 21st and 22nd. But first I want to go back and talk about what we've been seeing, and then we can move forward. The 16th was a really good day. Everybody that I talked with, including the guys behind me here, Alex and Carson, had good action on the 16th. I had 2 of the 3 bucks that we're after on this farm show up in daylight on that date. 1 on camera and 1 in front of the blind. And unfortunately, the one in front of the blind, I messed that up. I had my arm out the window. I was doing something with the video, doing a pan with the GoPro, closed the window, it clicked shut. He was 50 yards away making a scrape. He heard that click. The nice thing is, I'm sure he didn't associate that with, human activity, but he didn't like it and he took off. Kind of disappointing, but exciting too to know that, he did make a daylight appearance during that time frame when we talked about where, right in that middle of October, it just seems like there's a flurry of rut activity. Whether that's the result of a few older does coming into estrus a month early, or if it's just some other natural aspect of the physiology of these deer. But I see that almost every year, and it happened again this year. So that was a good day, but we really haven't seen a whole lot in general other than that. The trail cameras have been showing us nighttime movement of bucks. They're bordering on daylight, say 45 minutes after legal shooting time, or prior to legal shooting time in the mornings. Nothing that we could really, hang our hat on. We've been hunting and being careful and not really getting too aggressive, not going in maybe into the cover very far. We're not hunting bedding areas, if that's, any indication of kind of what our mindset is. So that's the historical part. Let's hear from our sponsors, and then we'll jump into what the deer are doing now and what we expect them to do this coming weekend. Hoyt's Bow Hunting Whitetails is brought to you by Redneck Blinds, Code of Silence Apparel, Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail, Fuse Accessories, Elevate Tree Stands, B3 Releases and Broadheads, and Hoyt. Okay, so now I want to talk about what the bucks are doing right now, and not what we've seen on camera as much as just the general behavior and some trends that we're seeing there. It seems as if the bucks are kind of shuffling their core areas at this time. They're not as consistent in the places where we're finding them on the cameras as what they were back in September and even in early October. The buck that Jordan is after, that deer was very consistent all through September and into early October, and now he's not showing up in any of those same places. Fortunately, we're still picking him up a little bit at night in the areas where he's been feeding, but even that is a lot more sporadic. That deer moved, I believe, because he started showing up on another camera on a different part of the farm closer to daylight. So I think he jumped over this valley from one side to the other. And you might say, well, that's not a big deal if you own both sides of the valley, but that would be kind of a kick in the midsection if you're excited about hunting that deer, and then he moved over to the neighbor. So don't be shocked if some of these deer that you've thought you had pegged are starting to disappear. I think that's just kind of a natural thing that we're seeing right now. They're kind of shuffling, and some of them are starting to get maybe a little bit tighter to certain areas, like these 2 older bucks that I'm hunting. They were all over the place, but now I'm starting to see them kind of zero in on certain spots. They're not showing up here, there, everywhere. They're more in one area, maybe mostly at night, but still they're starting to form their core and maybe their ranges a little bit more now than what we saw during that, the dispersal from the summer ranges. So they should be falling into the fall ranges right now, I guess is my point. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of shuffling that goes on between now and the rut. My guess, probably not. But this gives us something to think about as we approach this weekend, and more importantly, the weekend after. The weekend that we've got coming up, I think, is maybe the fine-tuning weekend. I don't think this is one that we get super, excited about hunting. I think last weekend was, with the weather pattern that we had, and then, that mid-October, mini rut, if you want to call it that. And we did have some good action on Monday, so that one did kind of play itself out the way we'd hoped. I think this coming weekend, it's going to be, you can't say it's not going to be good, because this time of the year when these temperatures are as cool as they are, it can be good. But the weather pattern is just a little bit, working against us. A little bit warmer, some easterly winds, and the forecast can change between now and then, but it just doesn't have that same high pressure, cold front kind of feel to it that we had over the last weekend and then into Monday. So I'm going to really focus on at least one more card pull between now and the weekend, and just find out maybe where to focus my efforts, because I need to fine-tune stand locations. I need to get everything into place so that the following weekend, the 28th and the 29th, I'm all set, because that's going to be the good one. We need to do whatever we have to this weekend to get ready for the next one, with keeping in mind that things are changing in the deer woods right now. So for me, that means putting up a few tree stands. I've been a little bit slow to react to what I've seen on the cameras, because I know that stuff can be, fairly inconsistent. So I need to, this coming weekend and then the early part of next week, I need to put some stands up in some spots to take advantage of maybe some of these more consistent patterns that I'm starting to see on these 2 bucks that I'm after. The hunt for Jordan's deer, I think that's taking shape pretty well, because we know where that deer is going to be feeding. Now it's just a matter of, don't mess that up. Eventually he's going to show up there. There's a massive scrape down in that valley. We've got to stand right over the top of that. I've got a camera sitting on that scrape. We moved a redneck blind into the valley, got it ready to go. So when the time is right, which will be the following weekend, not this coming, but the one after, we're going to get after it really hard in that spot, but we'll be ready then. So anyway, my point is, don't go too crazy on the hardcore hunting this weekend. Use this as a fine-tuning weekend and really focus on the next one. Seems like the deer are still feeding on acorns quite a bit here. And I don't have tons of deer, and I do have tons of oak trees. So maybe I've got more acorns on the ground than what most people do, but they are still just on those acorns. Every place I've got cameras where you can see oak trees in the background, you can see them back in there feeding. So keep that in mind. If you are going to get out for an afternoon hunt, that's still going to be a good option, sitting on oak trees that are either have dropped or are still dropping acorns. But otherwise, I would say now, as we start getting closer and closer to November, you're going to see the deer move more towards the traditional, corn, clover, soybeans. The beans are starting to dry back down again now. They should be starting to become really attractive if you've got, beans around you that haven't been harvested, or, that are in your food plot. And then anything like the brassicas, they generally are a little bit later yet. I don't really see the deer hitting the turnips and the radishes and that kind of stuff a lot right now. So I feel like that comes later. Once you get into November and you get a couple hard freezes, those seem to be more attractive at that time. So that's what we're focused on here. And we will be out hunting, so keep checking back, and we'll keep bringing you the updates, and hopefully the information that we're offering here comes in useful. It's a lot of guesswork at this time of the season. There are some times of the year when you know what to do, and there's some times that you have to guess. And this part of October is one of those times when you have to do a fair amount of guessing. But my advice is be conservative, because next weekend, the 28th and the 29th, is going to be better than this one. So don't burn out your spots this weekend. Well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll see you right back here in another week for the next episode of Whitetail Watch, brought to you by Hoyt's Bow Hunting Whitetails. And remember to always dream big.